Hello, everyone, and welcome. Playing around with the music. Happy to be here. Tonight's going to be a fun stream. Feel free to say hi from wherever you are. So today is about stable diffusion. Now, I haven't talked too much about this on my channel, but I find this topic really fascinating. I have been diving super deep in the stable diffusion world. It started by me buying a, hey Default, I bought a Midjourney subscription, I think over 6 months ago now, probably longer, and figured out how to use that. And then I discovered that there's this open source world of stable diffusion. And so I've been using a lot of those tools and models and checkpoints and LoRa's and all the cool stuff that's related to that world. What's going on, guys? Hi. You can tell it's Christmas time here. So Thanksgiving is over. So I got my Christmas lights out. I got me some Christmas themed drink as well. So we're just going to kind of vibe and build something today. Now, I teased about this on Twitter yesterday, day before, that I have this big project that I have in mind. And so if tonight's stream goes well, then I'm hoping to apply some of what we learn here and use it in that bigger project, which maybe I'll talk about. Feel free to ask questions. Very festive, yes. Default, you're wondering about stable diffusion. You'll get a good overview of kind of how it works here. Thankfully, what we're going to deal with today is like the most basic, simple version of stable diffusion, aside from the fact that we're going to kind of build our own UI. But the actual technology is really straightforward, and I'll go in depth a little bit about how it works when we dive into the stream. So I'm not expecting a whole lot of people to get here, but you know, last time Chris rated us, and so there could be other people later. We'll see. And of course, certain times of this stream, I tend to get some peaks, so that's fun. So we'll just sort of wait to see if more people join us. But let's start planning this out and talking about it and doing all the things. So November 28th, that was yesterday, right? Yes, that was yesterday. Yesterday, Stabiliti.ai is a company that is doing a lot of kind of groundbreaking work in stable diffusion. They've announced this new model. And so this model allows you to create a somewhat realistic looking thing in one step. Now, I know you guys may not be too familiar with stable diffusion. We're going to talk about it today. But YZTV, you got a good question. What are we building today? So this is a company that attempts to make money through their products, right? And so they have this little product called SDXL Turbo in beta and real-time text-to-image generation. Now, what I want to do is we're going to clone this, basically. That's the gist of what's happening today. But I'm going to learn how the APIs work. I'm going to learn about some basic ways in which we can transfer some stuff. But check this out. We can say like drawing of owl. And in a moment, you get a drawing of an owl. You could say cat. And in a moment, you get a cat. You could say colorful. And now it's colorful. You could say of a, oh, let's get rid of that, a red tabby cat. And you can see, like, as I type, it changes. And the reason that it's so good at this is that this company has recently figured out a way to do real-time text-to-image generation. So it's nearly real-time, right? But this is a paid product, and so the more that we say, so we can say family Christmas photo, and you'll see with people, the real-time stuff isn't maybe quite up to par with what you would expect. We could say photorealistic, highly detailed faces. I mean, you can sort of push it to be a little bit better, but you can see the idea of this being, and this is kind of what I alluded to in my preview, huge. I'm trying to actually push this tool to crap out on me, and it hasn't yet. So the beta is they're being very generous with me, but this is all open source technology, and the licensing is non-commercial use right now, and so I want to recreate this. Now, this is a very basic thing. I'm thinking if this goes well, we'll add some buttons, we'll add some shortcuts. I'm thinking of like maybe history, where I can see what I previously drew. So like there's features here that we could definitely play with if this proves to be too simple or too easy to do in the 2 or 3 hours that we're going to hang out tonight and code. And of course, as always, we can talk about all the other things that we talk about on my Discord server and on the channel. And so Wisey knows what's up. Sounds like you're in the loop as well. Yeah, they did release a text to video service or model as well. I've been playing around with it a little bit, but not so much. My computer, I don't have a really strong GPU. I have the Apple chip, and so there is GPU in there and it can do things, but with video, it's kind of a bigger ask. So lots of emerging, amazing things happening in the space of Stable Diffusion right now. I'm on a lot of Discord servers. On my weekends, I like to fiddle around with this stuff. But what I want to show you guys while we're kind of diving into it is this is a product called ComfyUI. So ComfyUI is a open source project. You can see that it is running on localhost. So it's just something you get clone onto your computer and then you start the server. It uses Python and a tool called TensorFlow to run these image. Think of them like, instead of large language models like ChatGPT, they actually have a product called Dolly, right? So which is kind of similar, but for images. Midjourney does this as well. It takes noise and it trains itself to understand when you say these words, this sort of picture needs to appear, which is why it's a rather large file. This is multiple gigabytes. And this new one is Turbo. So we've got like Epic Realism and Juggernaut XL, and the sort of flagship product right now is called SDXL. And so these are all the checkpoints which you can use. And so today we're going to play around with this Turbo one. And you can see here that the step right here, step is 1. And so it only makes a pass at it one time. We can increase this. We can do 4. But what I've been told is that it doesn't really get increasingly better the more steps that you give it, according to all the research and all the news pieces that have come out in the last 24 hours. So we only need to do 1, which means it's quick. And you can see in my time, it's 1 Mississippi in 1 second. My computer is able to render something interesting. And if we have a lot of fun with this later in the night, if we get far enough, I kind of want to use Ollama to do like some sort of large language model kind of interaction where I can push a button and like generate maybe a random thing and then have the random thing be generated. So I kind of want to scaffold these open source projects together if I can. And of course, ClipDrop, very cool product, but they do have a limit. And then with ComfyUI, it's just kind of ugly and not great. And so the idea is, can I create my own UI for this using ComfyUI's API. So that's what I'm going to build today. We're exchanging information. Yeah, you guys watched Fireship's video? It's pretty funny, actually. Let's just kind of pull it up. Why not? Fire. I've already watched it. I watched it at lunchtime today. But yes, he talks about how Stable Diffusion can be used. I believe he talks about ComfyUI, I think is what he mentions. And he makes a joke about like how you can make an online profile, an AI influencer, which it's a great overview. I mean, it's definitely a hot topic. These videos seem to do really well. Look at this, 5 hours, 230,000 views already. So hashtag goals for sure. Yeah, Focus is another one that's really popular. I'm realizing some people are on YouTube, some people aren't. You're on Twitch. But yeah, Focus is another product that is popular for this kind of thing. But from what I can tell, the Mac OS experience isn't really there. But yeah, I play around with this stuff all the time. I have some really cool workflows that let combine the large language models with Stable Diffusion. And so I can like ask for it to generate prompts for me on my behalf. And so we're going to play around with that, my learnings from that so far. So we're going to write code. I think I might write up a little document to kind of get us started. You guys can get a peek inside of what I think is going to be happening here. I think for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to use Remix today. I know I mentioned Astro, but part of me is thinking that some of Remix's quality of life features for like UX features are going to come in really handy for me today. So let's see how this goes. All right. ML cores on the M series chip. Default, great question. Let's see if anyone else has anything to say about this. So like the latest Mac OS, you can get autocomplete. I don't know if you're familiar with the autocomplete. This is, I'm not going to pull up my private messages, but like in the messages app, as you type, it like predicts what words it thinks you're going to say. And that's using the machine learning, the ML cores, which is cool. There are some cool like maps features and things like, so that Mac OS has built-in functionality that's using the machine learning cores. But to my knowledge, I don't think it's being leveraged too strongly by the all these open source machine learning products like Stable Diffusion and Llama, and to my knowledge, they're not being used. But I could be mistaken. Let's close a few things. All right, so let's code. I got myself a little Stable Diffusion image in the background, seems appropriate. So this is ComfyUI. It's just a project like any other. And you run it with a script. They have a shell script and you start it up and it boots up to a port and you can start using it. And so today, SD Art Study is the name of my sort of tentative project name for my sort of the bigger things I want to do here. And so we're going to make an apps directory, and let's just go to Remix's website. Quick start. Oh, I keep doing this get started. We'll just do a Node app for now. But I thought there was boilerplates. I mean, I could just use like the stacks, but I don't need users. I don't really need any of that stuff. I'm thinking this could be a reasonable place to get started. I don't need to deploy it today. Western video, when is it coming? Yes, it's coming, I promise. So I've been focusing on NeoVimConf, which would love to see you guys there, NeoVimConf. Yours truly is going to be speaking there. So this has been my focus for the past couple of weeks. I think the Western video is next. So I'd like to get it out sometime early December. So that'll be fun. Thanks for the pressure. I need you guys to tell me you want the video so I actually finish making them. It's going to be Friday the 8th, for those that are curious. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use Kent's Epic stack. I really like the work Kent's doing here. So we're just going to keep it simple. And we're going to use Kent's. Docs, read the docs. All right. Dude, I'm excited about it too. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a good time. Where should I put my project? Let's call it SDXL Turbo. So we got a little bit of SQLite. If we want to play with SQLite, we could. Prisma is already going to be in this project. Logging in technically is already here, but as I mentioned, I could probably skip that for today. But he has this idea of images being saved in the SQL database. So it's kind of a cool idea to like encode the images and play around with that. So we'll see how useful it is. The script failed. I think it's one of those things that it really wants PNPM or doesn't want PNPM. Let's see what falls apart. Too much? Not enough? All right, then we're gonna do it this way. SDXL Turbo. The main thing I want is like Tailwind and potentially unit testing. And there's this mock service worker thing that I could deal with if I wanted to just get it to work without me having to mess with it. I don't know if he... Cool. And we've got Puppeteer. So Chromium's going to download, which is awesome. I want that. I think we're going to have to run setup first, although I believe it does do the setup. All right, so let's start imagining what this is going to look like. So let me grab a pen and paper. Sometimes you just got to start with the basics, right? I basically just want to do what they're doing, which is like an image, an input. When you type the input, maybe we'll debounce it, and on the debounce, we'll automatically no. All right, try this again. Oh, does it want me to do setup? Setup. Setup. I think it's already set up. Yeah. All right, so we'll get a localhost 3000 going, put it in our streaming, and we'll just swap all this out. He's even got a search bar. That's cool. I'll have to play around with that, see if that gives us what we need. So, ooh, we gotta update some things. Index the Astro. I'm going to be on Astro Brain, aren't I? Let's see. We want pages. Let's get familiar with this. We got app, routes, root, SEO, auth, marketing. All right. So we will get rid of all this. So if he calls this Epic Notes, is it all in one place? And why is my build file being seen? Do I need to get init this? I do. Much better. All right, so let's go ahead and commit all this as is. And epic stack. All right, and then epic notes. We're gonna change everything in here. So I'm thinking we'll just do a quick sad epic notes with SDXL Turbo. So now I can just swap this out. SAD is just a CLI for like quick substitution. And all the note stuff is going to go away. Why did it not update? Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm in the art study. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go ahead and close all this out. SDXL Turbo, that is our project. Add epic stack. I got ahead of myself. So from what I can tell, the epic stack only works with NPM, which is fine. This is sort of a does this work kind of project today. Oh, totally. I've thought about it. Default's wondering if I've thought of like creating a git commit message tool. Are you thinking like large language model tool where like I want to like read the diff and give myself a conventional commit, based off of what changed. I have found conventional commits are so quick for me. So in the time I could write a conventional commit, like the language model would have already figured it out. There are good CLI tools out there like that can help you with like autocomplete, but I don't feel like it's super necessary most of the time. Let's go back to this page. We'll use 20 and we will go ahead and create ourselves a little NVMRC. Cool. And let's try that again. So we're going to put an image here, and then on the image, we're going to put an input below it. So something like now we're cooking. All right, so we'll say min height, screen, flex row, justify center, and I want my image tag is gonna, there'd be some sort of placeholder or maybe a box. So we'll put a div and then let's see, what is the actual, what would we call this? Image. All right. And then input. So we got our if image, then we'll do an image. And then input. All right, come on. You know you want to format. Am I doing something incorrectly? Expecting, oh yeah. There we go. All right, so this is the way it's going to be. Yeah, so Isa, you're right. GitHub is doing some stuff with this. They want to I heard the PR preview thing maybe isn't going to happen from what I was hearing. That's the thing I wanted the most, is like when I open a PR, like summarize it for me and give me all of the feedback I want. But the commit thing, I think, is part of the VS Code beta already. So the cool thing is we don't have to debounce because Remix may be able to handle this for us. So we're just going to say input value. And we'll just do a quick set input. All right, so we want this to be a string. And this is sort of a unknown. It might be a base64 encoded thing. It might not be. So we will, for now, I don't know if I want to mess with this here. What I tend to do is on the root, we have some sort of layout, right? And where is it? Layout. What is document? Document body. Oh, bless me. All right, so basically, this is already the height, the flex call height screen justify between. That might be enough for me today. So I might be able to just create this guy. but it's going to justify between, which means I got my header, I got my outlet. Let's just get this right. All right, so I'll put this over here. So I've got my column, header, content. Oh, okay. So now it's just a matter of taking this guy and height full, flex call, justify center, something like that. Cool. Some sort of max width, medium. It's probably not going to be enough. Something like that. Now, is he using a UI library here? He may be. Radix, yeah. So we just use Radix. Oh, let's go here. It was right there. Get started. Inbox. We got boxes. We got flexes. We got grids. We got everything we need. Containers. So we'll do some sort of, let's do container size 2. I actually haven't used Radix before, but I'm down to try it today. Was it size? Yeah, it was size. Oh. Size? Oh, that's funny. Why was it trying to give me that? None of this is important. Container comes from Radix UI. Why is it trying to give me? Did I spell container wrong? Or is he only pulling in certain pieces? Okay. So I kind of have to bring in the ones that I want. Interesting. I don't need to deal with all of that today. This actually is more code than I probably wanted to start with. Yeah, the wrong import. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the chat. Yeah, it's the wrong import, but it's not even a useful thing. All right, well, we'll keep it simple. That's only 177 pixels wide. Try again. There we go. All right. This is like not the fun part. I kind of just want to get to it. So give me radix. Text area. And then I want it. If I want it, will it give it to me? So I got one piece of it. Well, as long as the value works, I guess I'm going to leave it alone. I usually do this all by hand, but it takes like an hour just to get started. It's fine. I digress. We'll just go ahead and get this going. So we'll do width 512, height 512, and then there's like skeleton. We'll do some sort of if there's no image. Oh. Then we will do the same thing. And then we'll do a dark BG gray 950, please. That's it. I usually do the opposite here. All right. This is the boring part. Let's get to the fun part. This is all that I've been wanting to do all day. So what I want to do is I want to fetch export const loader, and I want to basically call the SDXL Turbo API, return the image. So image should be coming from, I guess it's not a loader, I guess it's an action. We're going to do a post request on this. And this is the real power of Remix, and the reason that I was talking earlier about why I would want to just make this work is that it should just work. I don't think there's anything special I need to do this form. Let's make sure that I get my API right. So we'll do forms versus fetchers, and we create an action, and the action will run on the action function. So it's going to look something like this. Action args, yes. The form data comes in that way. I'm not worried about that. We are going to return the image. So it's going to be some base 64 encoded thing. Let's go ahead and import that. And then this is a duplicate, so let's put that there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pm install Axios. Actually, I like Axios more than node fetch. Actually, I guess, does he already have node fetch installed? He doesn't. Node fetch is the most straightforward thing. So perhaps we just keep it really, it doesn't really matter. I need something either way. So npm install Axios. Is it requiring me to use 18? Perhaps it is. Oh, that was a nasty error. What is happening? Oh, the project like blew up in my face. All right, so he really wants us to use 18. So we will, no, stop. We will use 18. If that's what the man wants, that's what the man gets. And then basically we're going to take the form action. What I love about this, and if you guys aren't using Remix, there's a lot of great type inferring here. So like we're not going to use image, we're going to use image. And check this out, image is any, image, this one's saying it's any. Once we do this, it'll work. It knows, hey, it should know. So args comes from node, action data comes from React. Let's check our imports. Use action data, JSON, type arg functions. This is right. So this returns a typed responsive string. This is supposed to say it returns a typed responsive string or undefined, because I'm not try-catching. It's my only thought. Yeah, that's better. So this is going to be we're just going to keep this simple for now. I could have just copied this line, couldn't I have? All right, so let's build the thing. Come on. Nope. Use 18, thank you. That'll pop back up, and then this is where it gets fun. So let's start to do this. Controlling ComfyUI is using the API. So basically, from what I can tell, we turn on dev mode, which I've done. We copy the API format, which I've done. It creates a JSON file. And he describes how it gets called on the endpoint, but I don't think that matters. I think all that matters in my case is the endpoint. So the data request prompt gets encoded with the data UTF-8, prompt workflow is the data that comes in. Data gets assigned to P. P is a JSON dump. Yeah. So all of this kind of magic isn't really necessary for the sake of what we're dealing with. What we care about is that we use this endpoint and we call funny. Or undefined. Why does it keep doing that? Because it's an action? Image is not. Yeah, I know. So we're going to kind of cross our fingers here. We're coming up at the hour. But what I really care about from today's stream is, can I do an await axios.post and see it's already like, hey, do you want to do that? And no, that's not how it's going to go. Was I able to import Axios from Axios? All right, sweet. So we're just going to post. Now, it seems like P is prompt. And so we'll say like drawing of owl again. And we're going to see if this returns anything. Let's get the file all playing nice. Image is not defined. I mean, I could use, I just like Axios because of like the things it gives me. It gives me a lot of shorthand. When I hit enter though, gotta make sure I get the port right, 8188. Do thing, got prompt. GC collect, okay. So now if I this whole input's going to be bad. I don't need to do that anymore. But I do need to name the input. So let's call it prompt. Let's log the form data and let's try that again. So prompt. That was a GET request, but I want it to be a post. So we will, on the form element, method post. And that's it. That should be all it is. Bad request, malformed data, because why? Bad request, post 400. A 400 typically shows a user error. My form data never showed. Come on. I know how to do this. lowercase form data get. Oh yeah, he uses his remix form element. And this is just a post. And this is prompt. And we will prompt let's call the image, and some sort of response is going to be necessary. So let's run it again. Sweet. So bad request. The 400's coming from ComfyUI. So let's find out if I have to like set this every time. Enable dev mode options. Save API format. And I guess one step turbo. There we go. So it does have to like warm up, but look at that. That's a really good picture for being one step. It's still blowing my mind that this works so well. All right, so then that's the error. No prompt. Let's see if someone can give me a better example. So there's, oh, I need to create this whole body. Okay. And then P equals prompt. I guess I don't know what dumps does. And then the actual content here, prompt text. I'm guessing I need to encode the whole thing. And then we need to find the specific workflow. Got it. Okay, so now we're on the same page. This basically to get workflow. So we're going to go to downloads and we'll workflow API and we'll, this is the structure of the content that needs to go. So we'll just call this ComfyUI prompt. And then we'll give this a positive prompt. Well, I'll show you guys what that means in a little while. So we'll paste all this in. And I'm just going to go ahead and as const. So this is kind of cool. I don't know if you knew this, chat, but like if I have this thing that will return number, string. See how these sort of inferred types here? I can say as const. And the type safety will be way more specific. It will say, these are the exact values that you set. Dumps is stringify? Okay, cool. Yeah, so basically it was a bad prompt. So this whole owl drawing thing becomes positive prompt. So we've got the latent image. So this is like the shape of the thing that you want to run Stable Diffusion against. Think of it like an empty image. But latent, it's slightly different technology. We have our positive prompt. We have clip encoding, so we're going to encode this clip into a VAE decoder, and all of this gets passed in through this custom sampler. The sampler is the tool that can execute the actual denoising process. That's kind of what we call it when we're talking about Stable Diffusion. The sampler name is just whatever sampler name we want. The input is this, and this is specific to the file that I have saved on my computer. So I downloaded this save tensors checkpoint and put it in the ComfyUI folder where they want it. And then there's this preview image. So the question I have is, what is it going to return? I don't know. So the prompt now is going to be ComfyUI prompt, passing in the prompt. I'm pretty sure we got the right value in. I guess I'll return all of this for now. Hopefully the API just returns the image, which I was doing some research earlier today, and that's what it seems to be doing. So we will go back to here and back to here. Let's just make this one. Let's make this 1, 2. File change rebuilt. We don't need any of that right now. This time we're getting a no prompt. Okay, so now we're still getting no prompt. Oh, I think it was literally prompt. I think I misspoke earlier. Data, prompt ID, a number. I wonder if I can give it a response type of an image. Ooh, there's a buffer. So if the content type comes back as application JSON, that's my guess. So let's quickly sample that code we were looking at. Queues the prompt, makes a request, UTF-8 encoding, but return image. Yeah, great question, YZ. So he's asking, what are good resources to learn about this stuff? The most helpful thing for me has been YouTube. So this whole like Stable Diffusion world, which you can tell that I'm now a part of. I know what is going on and how to, for the most part, how to describe it and what all these terms are. YouTube has been a big help for me. So there are some really great people that I follow. Furthermore, the whole ComfyUI and the other main tool that hasn't been talked about much yet today is Automatic 1111. And in that one, it's a lot of like, in order for you to be able to, beyond Midjourney, for you to understand how to use this stuff, you have to sort of understand all of the different pieces of information that make these tools work. And so what I mean by that is when you put something in that doesn't work or isn't correct, you're going to get you're going to get really weird looking images, right? And so to understand these pieces like the denoising strength, there's something called a CFG, which is like a configuration scale. And the higher number, like the more variation that the tool can output. And so you have to learn how to limit it. Same with like latent images, and VAEs are ways in which we decode and encode these images that come through these models. And so I could definitely talk a lot about it. Some people want me to make YouTube videos on it. We'll see. Some people want me to keep talking about TMUX. So we'll see. But I have been doing this a whole lot on my spare time. And I'm really just trying to get this. If I get this working today, which we're now at the top of an hour, if this works for me today, this is my win. I want to be able to call the ComfyUI with an API request, update certain data points on the payload, and get returned the final image result. That's what I really want. So let's see if they have a save image. I could do a save image. But I hope that helps. Stable Diffusion is super interesting technology. I am a front-end developer at the beginning of my career. I actually was a graphic designer in my college track. So I have a very strong drawing, graphic design, user experience kind of background as a developer. And so lately I've been sort of gravitating toward this stuff. I've been using Photoshop longer than I've been a developer. So I like the idea of creating images and interesting images. And so that has been my path so far. All right, so let's talk about this. I think I need to probably save the image. To me, that makes sense. Maybe we won't preview. Maybe we'll leave the preview. We can preview it. And then this guy needs to be turned on. And we will call this, I guess we'll leave it as is because I'm used to it. We'll save the format. Okay. Save. Downloads. Save. And 27 and 28. Is that where we're at? No, it's changed. Okay. It's fine. It's not the end of the world if it changes. So we will paste that in. We'll find our owl, farmhouse, positive prompt. That's literally it. So I think we just test it now. So that's going to trigger it. The data still is coming back. Farmhouse fall. Okay, so the data comes back in this format. How using Axios to return a. Let me make sure I get this right. A PNG. So we're going to get array buffer. We could write to the file. We could do this. Response type array buffer. Yeah, that feels right. So that means this guy is going to post. Usually it's the third argument. Config on a post. And then on my response, from the response data, we'll do some sort of file, how to base 64 encode the response response. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. So we'll take, we got to make sure it actually returns what we think. Console log. So this becomes the image, basically. Image. So that's what'll end up going here if it works. And this is the response. It's fine. And let's see what happens. Hey, it returned something. It is returning bytes. So this buffer array is what we're expecting. Oh, and I have to encode it. All right, so let's say how to decode base 64 in React image tab. Close enough. We take this data, base 64, encode it. This could be it, chat. This could be, drum roll. I need drum rolls from everybody. This could be it. So if this displays the image, we have a contrived, albeit contrived but straightforward idea here. Doesn't want to play nice. Drum roll. I feel like that was very close. There is a base encoded thing. My guess is that's not a base encoded image. And that's the part that I'm like, how does that work? So from what I can tell, I have another example here of this API. So this guy took and he base encoded the getter. He took the generate request. He autocasts the image with the prompt, but he used the stable diffusion pipeline, and then he used bytes to save the buffer in the PNG format, which is different than what I'm imagining. But on his client, he did a lot of what I'm doing. So he takes prompt and he passes it in, which this is different than what I'm doing. And then on his image, he did that. Yeah, so he base 64 encoded the value. So I'm going to guess that that's just not a real image. I'm guessing that that response is something else. So whatever this thing is, it's not an image. But is it valid? Do we get a 200 back? URL, post. I mean, as long as what we get back is the data response, that's my stringified JSON. Application JSON is going in, but an image isn't coming out. So my question is, what do we have to do? Part of me also wonders, like, maybe we'll do a little bit of magic here. Put these side by side. ComfyUI runs. If I run farmhouse, it already executed. Oh, let's see, farm spring flowers. It executed it. But it didn't return what I wanted. I am converting I thought I was converting the buffer. Maybe I'm not converting it. Let's look at the code again. Buffer from data response binary to string. This is what I was told to do, but there's a chance this isn't valid. If I ask for an array buffer from the response type, then I should be able to use the buffer from and use the data response. Maybe binary isn't right. Image PNG, it is image PNG base64 encoded, passing it the image. This should be immediate because it's been cached by the Turbo CLI, or the ComfyUI caches results. So then this is bad. So this guy, base 64. No. Right. So then this is my response data. This is my encoded value. I wonder if base 60. I wonder if it can base 64 decode. Ha! So it's literally the body. That's what I figured. Okay, so this isn't working. There's clearly something that ComfyUI wants me to do that it's not doing. ComfyUI prompt return image. So it's literally just a toString. So the question right now I have is, I want to call the endpoint and I want to return an image. So yeah, the buffer that this thing here, is literally the response object we saw earlier. There's no node errors. It returns number 31, but I want to like tell it to return. My only thought right now is that like API export API. What is this? No image. Is there like a final step here? Save image. No. Convert. Pixelate. No, I don't need to do any of those things. Because the power of all this and what I'm excited about is I can create my own workflow in ComfyUI and then programmatically create UI elements to like do whatever I want to do. Like just use this as a backend, which is what they invented this for. At least I was told that was the whole kind of point of ComfyUI, was to design a powerful backend. So maybe we just start reading the source code. API. Image. A socket to listen to the events. So the blob comes from the MIME type, and the MIME type, like I can just start to. All right, I'm with you here. I think you're onto something, but you may have to describe it more. Base64 encoded string, try manually add to the data URI. So you think I mean, from what I can tell, it wants a prompt. Let me actually look. Okay, so from what I can tell, the image is being saved to my computer when I run it, as I'd expect. What I need to do is somehow tell the API to give me. So here's the preview. I have a suspicion that it's pulling the image from the file system. So this is dispatching an event, and the event dispatcher creates a preview event from the blob, and the blob comes from the MIME, and the MIME comes from here, and the buffer is from the event data on the message. I didn't want to use sockets. Yeah. So the buffer array that comes out from the API is literally just it's just literally this. This is what's coming out right now. So you're saying it shouldn't be the prompt ID itself. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, man, I got shaved recently. Glad you're here. In my sweater weather, we got the Christmas lights. I feel like we're getting close here. I could create a WebSocket, and there is a WebSocket protocol for all of this, but because it's only one step, it's very much unnecessary for this to work. Is there like a get image? There is. So is get image me having to fetch? Oh, a view. I bet that's it. I bet we have to literally do a view, and the view would be on the thing. So here's the prompt. Call the prompt, get the image. That's probably it. So then the URL values are the encoded data. Is it going to be the encoded data? Data is file name, subfolder type. I mean, that's my guess. So that feels right. There are two separate requests, one to prompt, one to get. Get the image from the ComfyUI. All right, so that's it. That's got to be it. I mean, that would be crazy if it wasn't. So we're going to post a prompt, and then we're going to get, I can make this better over time. And so now this is get on the view, and the view is to inject. I think I just call it on do I have to do it myself? I thought I could do it. Params. So the file name will be this number. Did this number come? That's the hardest part here, is I don't know how I'm going to get the prompt ID from. There's this prompt ID. Is that useful? I wonder if there's some simpler thing here. All right, so this is like view. View can't be reached because view is it a getter? Prompt ID. Yes. That would be it. All right. So this we have prompt ID. So we're going to do a get images, which is a, is this called anywhere? Is this using server address? Let's, do I have a good Python library installed? Not really getting autocomplete here. The prompt ID, Q prompt. While executing, get history / history. And then on the I put the nodes, and then on the nodes we get the image, and on the get image, we never use prompt ID. Does prompt ID a proxy? It looks like it might be like you have to first call this to get outputs on the history. And then from there, get the image. Because the image comes from the image here, which comes from the node outputs, which comes from here. So do I really have to call it separately? History? According to this, what they're saying is this guy is like history is like that. And so this thing gives me a whole bunch of stuff, and there's the image name. How about that? And so the output gives me an images array. That's it. Okay. So you gotta kind of do a convoluted thing here. It's fine, that's what I'm trying to learn. This all goes away very, very quickly when you create some sort of like simple TypeScript SDK, which is stuff I do all the time at work. So I'm feeling much better. Okay, so we're not gonna view. We're going to history and the prompt ID comes from here. prompt response, and then we're going to have the prompt ID. And this is going to be the prompt response.data.prompt ID. And then this becomes prompt ID. And this is going to be the history response. And history response. Okay, now we're cooking. Now we're making it. Without the border, tell me more. What is without the border? Is there like a border setting? Tell me how this works. Tell me this magic and I'll give it a try. You have to tell me where it is, but I haven't tried it without the border. I didn't even know that was an option. All right, so let's get rid of all that. So this is, I mean, it's pretty subtle as it is. Oh, prompt response. Prompt response. Oh, image is not defined. Let's give that a go. History response isn't returning anything. Why is that? Oh, let's try again. History response, we should have gotten a prompt response log, right? April showers. Prompt April showers. Prompt response is buffers. Boo, buffers. Now we want this to go away. That would be a pain if we kept it like that. So check this out, chat. Outputs. So outputs for 27 and 28. Okay, so that's where we're at. So 27 and 28 are two different things. 27 is save image, and 20. Okay, so I don't want to save image because if you didn't know, when you run it and save image, it goes into a folder in your ComfyUI project. So I right now have a bunch of files that are piling up from testing this. I'm fine with 27. Nope, 27. Images. Let's repeat that. So we have output 27. So that'll be output 27. So that becomes here. Output 27. So images, history, data, outputs, (27) images. So I think that's what we want. Oh, let's try that again. Something went wrong. Oh, the history response is based off the key. All right. So the data response has prompt ID. Again, this stuff is pretty trivial. I'm not upset about it at all. Images, there's the image. So it exists there. I only want one for the sake of the way that this is going to go. And so according to the ComfyUI API documentation, we can get an image by running the get image, which is a view, and on the view, we pass the params of that object. And that's apparently all it's supposed to be. So image. And maybe this is where we want to pass the encoding. Params image. So this shouldn't be image anymore. This should be history image. Sure. And then that becomes image, and then the base encoding. Content response type. And then we repeat what we did earlier, which is buffer from. Encoded image, and we will take image. Okay, another drum roll, please. Encoded image. Why? This isn't the view. Response. So this becomes the view response data. Another drum roll. We've done so much of the work. We've figured it out. Hey, let's go. Finally, I finally got it to work. Let's go. So this is April showers. Brings May flowers. So we're going to see how much of this we can repeat. And I'm trying to figure out if it doesn't immediately return what I want it to, but if I repeat the process, it can fetch it. So do I have to arbitrarily wait on the view? That's my main question right now, is console log view response. So if I say waving hands, this says something went wrong because it can't read output because the output hasn't finished. But when I do it a second time, oh God, that's kind of scary. Yeah, so then let's get rid of this. So then basically when we call prompt isn't done yet. So how do we know that prompt is done? So we queue prompt while true. So this is a WebSocket thing. And it says, okay, wait until we see that type executing. Yeah. So the whole prompt response thing, it will tell us when it's done, and we can't continue till it's done. So do I repeat a get history until there's output? Basically, we have to wait 2.5 seconds. That's why I typed it. I typed it because I know hands are crazy with Stable Diffusion. Dude, I feel so good about this though. Oh my gosh. This is what I wanted. There's a whole bunch of projects that I want to do with this. And now I know that I can make whatever ComfyUI workflow I want. And that with a really simple TypeScript SDK and some React code, I can build any products I want with this tool. I have all sorts of clever ideas, but the main thing is getting this all to play nicely. So they're doing a wait. And so from what I can tell, the prompt response and the history basically, from what I can tell, we can say like haunted, I can't spell mansion. So at first, it's going to return something went wrong. The history response, okay, so let's start here. The data has a prompt ID and a number. The history response shows chunks. That's not it. Has an empty history. No, I'm not waiting for it to write to disk. I'm just waiting for the actual Stable Diffusion process to finish. And because JavaScript is so, blazingly fast, I kid, but like, this gets called and then we're immediately calling more code. And it's like, well, this code doesn't exist yet. So it's going to be one of those things like while no history response. It's going to be one of those, I don't like this kind of pattern, but like while is finished equals false, while fetch for the history. And there's like some safety mechanisms that can be put in place, like absolutely. But once it finishes, we're going to be like, there are WebSockets that can be used, and I'm open to that, but it's unnecessary. I guess it's necessary maybe for the sake of not having to pull from the server until I get what I want. That's my guess. So if there are WebSockets, we can see this WS. I don't know what this WS means. Get images. So if images do thing, add other guys to thing and do that. Yeah, so this is like what I want. So this is probably WebSocket. And then there's some sort of executing. And then when that becomes, if data node is none and data prompt ID is the prompt ID, then the execution is done. So this is some sort of WebSocket, but get images. Here's the WebSocket. Do we just do it this way? I guess. I mean, they're doing it this way. So the client ID is what? Client ID is just a thing that gets invented? Oh, it's just like a value that I need to have. All right. So I'm connecting to the WebSocket, and then on the WebSocket, I'm looking for instances. This is just like Python I've never read before. So I'm like, I don't know what this Python means. I guess we'll just try it. The WebSocket fold thing should be open. So this is just some random UUID. I can just give it just a generic thing for now. So is this one of those things that like, I just create a new WebSocket and then add an event listener? And then I can promisify? Like this would be fine. Listen to WebSocket. So the WebSocket itself has to be created. So you just create it outside of it and then you call it. Okay. So the socket is, now I'm going back and forth here. Okay, stop it. This becomes this guy. WebSocket, and it wants a client ID, and it doesn't really matter what it is right now. I don't think it matters what the value is. Yeah, but this isn't going to be. Doesn't really matter right now. You guys can let me know in chat if you think it matters. So we're basically just gonna wait. And we're gonna log events, log errors. We'll console log if it closes. I don't think so, because I'm not using the web client. I'm using the API. So I don't want to be communicating with a web client. I want to be my own web client, basically. But I can see why they would use it. Like they're attaching to a tab, and I bet per tab, there is a unique UUID generated for each tab so that you can create your connections. Because like if you open up more than one ComfyUI, this thing, if you open up more than one of these, they can track themselves individually. So we're going to go with that. Lots of undeclared types. Not a big deal right now. My client ID is whatever I want it to be. Now this would work if I was wanting to have my app work in multiple tabs, right? I'd want each one to have its own client ID so that users could use them independently and have separate web. I'm guessing the WebSocket connections are made unique through the client ID. So then the prompt will respond, the socket will listen. We're gonna do the historical response only after the WebSocket's finished. So we wait for a closed connection, hopefully. That's the part that we're just gonna find out. Yellow cat. So what is gonna happen? Oh, sure. WebSocket is to a server. So just because it's here doesn't mean it exists. Create a new. I'm guessing there might be a node library you need. Yeah, like WS. All right. So they want an actual. It's so funny. The browser does so many things, right? The browser has fetch built in. The browser has, I think the browser has WebSockets like this. I think they just work out of the box. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, that would make sense. So we would import WS from WebSocket. Oh. And then is there like a separate types library? Probably. Yeah, but we're using Node 18. The project, the remix project that I built, the project off of is asking for that version, which is what it is. So this is going to be a WebSocket. So let's just see if this can be. Get a class. I'm going to do that. Are these errors bad? Well, they seem all right. I know. We can only hope for. The thing is, I will probably dumb this way down and create like a really, really basic remix app that does really, really basic things, so that I don't have to deal with a whole lot of dependencies. I might even use Vite. Hey, so now if we do red dog, is it actually waiting? Message, status, data, status, exec info, queue remaining 0. All right, so this is what we were talking about. There's one event. Did this come back to me? No. Okay. So does it come back? Progress. Progress is. Okay. So we're on to something here. Progress, buffer. I wonder what that buffer is. Because if we can get the value from the WebSocket directly, then we don't have to fetch history and pull the image a second time. The data starts with 98, ends in 733. I'm just going to guess here that I need to dumb this down. All right, so this is very cool. What we'll do after this is we'll on change automatically submit the thing. Like just keep submitting. And the way that Remix works is, what's really cool about their platform is Remix knows to invalidate previous commands if they are unfinished. So if the previous command isn't done yet, it knows to terminate the previous one and only honor the final one. So it's kind of like debouncing isn't necessary, although you're being a little bit aggressive when you're attacking the the actual server side. So it is helpful to do that. Scroll back. If you're thinking about like this feature having a scroll back idea, yes, that is part of my idea. I was thinking almost like maybe a horizontal timeline would be fun, where you could like push a button and go back in time and like change the input to what it used to be. Very fun idea for sure. I think you came in late, but earlier in the stream, we were talking about, I think it'd be fun to add like a large language model to this. We could hit like a random button and it would just give me something. I could pick some object in our material world. Okay, so this never ends because the response status exec key remaining 0. The response finishes after. Okay, let's start to play around with this code. So I might as well just I'm just trying to think of like how I want to deal with this. So it's resolving. Maybe I wait till it closes. It might be reasonable to guess that on close it means that it's done. So then let's give that another try. Oh, look at that loading state. That's cool. Is it going to time out forever because our connection won't ever close? So yes. So then I want where is this even coming from? Where is Q remaining? Let's take a closer look. I didn't think I was logging it anymore. This is an event message. Event, I see. Oh, then why did this not update itself? All right, so yes, the connection starts, but it doesn't close. All right. So that's not our strategy here. Our strategy is to do what they're doing. While the type is executing, and if the node is none and the prompt ID returns. So it's something along those lines. So it's going to be one of those things where like WebSocket response. WebSocket response, prompt response. I don't need the prompt response anymore. I don't even think I need to capture it anymore if this guy is giving me what I expect. So now we just repeat the process. Cowboy woman. All right, so event, yeah, so it starts as progress and then it ends with a buffer. Oh, it hits a buffer and then so there's some sort of like content type here, right? So type of response. What actually do I get as the response, or do I? Oh, maybe it comes later. Yeah. So I can't return immediately. We're basically going to say like, if type is progress, then continue. So if type equals progress, break, return. Type progress. And then when it's a buffer, I want to return the buffer as the event. So that should just come in directly. And then all this magic should come in as this. And we're just going to kind of see if my assumption is okay here. And I'm going to guess that they're going to change things about the way they do it. And there's going to be like, ComfyUI is going to go, hey, we're going to make this different. But as long as I have good unit testing in place, or some like unit tests that can assert that the API is doing what I expect it to, I think it'd be all right. Blob, yeah. It's totally going to be blob. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I need to do all that. I think I just want to say, like, if there's no more progress, I expect the WebSocket to return. It returns unknown. So what does this actually want? Buffer takes in an array buffer. So we can just say like, I know this is like not the best way to do it, but it would work. Woman, cowboy in space. Okay, so that buffer I don't think is, I need to stop returning all these things. They're not of any help to me. All right, so the prompt response, this response is the returned value, event.data. Oh, if it has already, yeah, okay. We're gonna end up with multiple things going on. So let's give it a new one. Raining men. What is this? Why is it returning a big old blob? This is the data. I feel like I saved something and it didn't hold. This isn't an unknown. This isn't an unknown either. Resolve an unknown. What the heck? Maybe it's an actual typing error. Do I really have to? All right, come on. Why did this stringify it? From string. Now I'm getting a TypeScript error. Good old TypeScript. What is this saying? From an array buffer, the array buffer is I mean, I'm fine with this. Array buffer. All right, let's go back. Array buffer is not assignable to type. Weird. Oh, maybe I have to put the type twice. I can deal with types later. I just want it to not complain. I guess. I guess for now, I'm going to keep the method I had, which was wait for this to end, and then call the guy in the future. And we will just history response image. And I don't know if this is going to be enough. Hey, thanks, man. Wildoness. I don't know how you say your name, but yeah, I appreciate it, man. I have been using ComfyUI for quite some time, and I like ComfyUI. But when it comes to like, can I make a product that's cool? Like, can I do this? We're making a clone of this today. With rockets, with missiles. Boom. It like gives me the output. Like, I want to make something simple like this. So simple. And if I want to like adjust the configuration, or I want to like add more steps, or I want to create new features that even we were talking about earlier, like I want to be able to do that. And I just need to create a simple SDK that works with ComfyUI. And then I can programmatically change how things work. And I'm going to make a blog post after all this, and I'll probably release some sort of open source package, because it seems like everybody could use Astro or any sort of modern TypeScript thing. But as soon as you understand how the prompt works, all you need to do is use the structure of the prompt as payload to the API, and then you can substitute whatever variables you want using whatever programming language of your choice. And so now the final step here is just like getting this stuff right. The WebSocket response. Part of me thinks that like I need to wait until there are no more messages. I kind of want to just like do this slightly differently. Let's see. So this is mine. So it's going to go on forever. It's going to first do status remaining, progress, status, exec info, queue remaining 0. I think we're just going to wait. Check if queue in JS. So it's going to be one of those like dig into this, status exec info remaining. So like if this doesn't event any, we'll make this better. In the future, we'll make this better. So basically, if remaining equals 0, then resolve event data. What font is this? This is Monospace, and right now it is randomized between like 4 out of the 5 Monospace fonts. So I couldn't tell you exactly which one this is, but it is one of the Monospace fonts. And this is NeoVim. Yeah, I see your question. This is NeoVim and Tmux. I have some plugins that I've written for Tmux, and I've got a pretty customized NeoVim config now. So the reason it looks this way is just lots of iterations of updates. All right. Message. Oh, this is data again. Data. That's going to go on forever. Queue remaining 0. Okay, so like it's supposed to finish at some point. Undefined. Yeah, so I'm expecting it undefined sometimes. Message is that. So then I want data. Message data status JSON encode? Nope, decode. Decode JSON JS. Parse. Why do I always forget that? It's been so long since I've written this. Parse. At this point, we are not using Axios, and Axios does this for me, which is one of the reasons we were talking about it earlier. Yeah, so I have to, yep. So the very first time, it should have come back as status. Oh, right. So that becomes parsing the data. Can I add a generic? There's no generics on this. I could create a generic. There we go. Ah, yes, you can't JSON parse in that buffer. What is that buffer? We were talking about it being a blob. Oh, it's Remix is gonna crash. Come on, you can rebuild. I believe in you. See, I can change my fonts. Woo. I'm just hitting Command R, and that gives me the ability to reload my configuration, which just randomly picks a font in the background, which is fun. It's not as fine-tuned as I wanted it to be, but it's cool. All right, so first it's a string, then it's another string, then it's an object. So it comes back as an object? So if type of event is a string, we do this. This will work. Superman, Wonder Woman. Come on. Yes, that's Wonder Woman. Old school. We're getting some random. Yeah, there you go. Boom. There's an old school comic hero. Hell yeah. If I hit enter again, is it going to. Flowers. Blue flowers. Red flower. Oh, that's going to give me something weird. Hell yeah. Okay. This is awesome and not that hard. Dude, wow, yes. Go to joshmedeski.com and right up here, we got a little Discord. And down here, we got a little Discord. So hit the Discord button, you'll get into the Discord. Sweet. And I'm on Twitter. If you're not following me there, that's where I kind of have the most chatter. This is awesome. This was not that hard. It just took some trial and error, which is what these streams are all about. We're 2 hours and we just hit over 2 hours and we have a working product. Now, this isn't as pretty as I wanted it to be, and I've definitely overcomplicated it. But let's try this now. I don't have to hit enter. I should be able to just auto submit on change. So the way that would work is we will take the index file and let's just feature get working SDXL Turbo feature. Sweet. Still super happy about that. So let's on change. Oh, that was it. On change. Just form.submit. The event comes from on change target form event. Yeah, that sounds fine to me. So e.target.form.submit. That should be it. But the handle change. All right, chat. So now if I say green meadow, I shouldn't have to. Oof. Let's look at that network tab. I have a suspicion that ComfyUI is going to do a ton. So we need to add a debounce for this feature to actually work. Yeah, this actually would be fine with me. Debounce isn't, no, low dash debounce, I see. I was like, you can't just use it. Okay, so let's do remix, React. Kent C. Dodds is a really big, I don't know if you know him, but he does the Epic Stack, which is our code base we started with. Kent C. Dodds, and I want to search the blog. Do you let me search your blog, sir? I want to search for debounce. No. Let's try the other way. Let's try a good old site. Debounce. Bounce. Debounce. The problem is to debounce the user interaction. Wait for the user to stop typing before applying the status. This is sometimes best we can do. No. Another solution is using memoization. Sure. I want just a debounce. I've used debounce before. This is like the simplest. I don't even know if I need to npm install it. It's like not that hard to write. It just feels so good when I debounce. So npm install use hooks. So this guy basically npm is there an example? Or is there just oh, here we go. I don't want to reset. Search term, search term, search term. It's one of those things that like, I'm just preventing the submit. So I don't actually want to use state. The use debounce comes from, I've done this so many times. Debounce search term. So my use effect is triggered on the debounce. So our handle change sets search term off the value, but then the handle submit, which I could set up a handle submit, takes the form data's target value and submits it. Yeah. I still end up with the use effect. At the end of the day, I'd have to do that. All right, well, something worth adding in the future, but not something that I think is worth the time and effort today. Okay, I am super behind. I probably won't push the source code. I'm not really proud of it, but I will create an SDK of some kind, some sort of simple TypeScript library that lets others use it. Yeah, so you guys got better graphics cards than me. I might build a PC. This sounds kind of nerdy, but I might build a PC so that I can do stable diffusion. Like totally, I would build a fancy custom, high graphics card PC so that I could do this. But I'm gonna take this as a win. So it waits. Oh, did I have my on change on still? I did. Let's get rid of that. That is going to just cause all sort of jank. So for every character we wrote, ComfyUI is attempting to generate an image for each one of those. And now, boom, it's immediate. And if we do like blue flowers again, it was cached. I don't remember how long the caching sits around for. Maybe it dumps itself on the preview images, because preview image is different than save image. So we want all this to go away. My question is, like, are there field of monkeys? I feel like there's a cold, like a boot. What do I call this? There's a cold start to ComfyUI. And like, even in this case, I would have expected it to have already finished. And so the fact that I have to call it again, that's funny. That's hilarious. Bucket of mustard. Like, you can just come up with the most random stuff. I have a feeling the webhook logic isn't like super concrete, is my guess. Because like, that's funny. There's still like some inconsistencies here. So I think the main idea will be get the pattern right so that I always know the response, whether the image is recently cached, whether it's a brand new process that's starting up, and use that WebSocket and always correctly return the promise. Hopefully I can return the promise with the buffer. I believe I can do that. We're going to see. But this is fun. This is so fun. I'm glad I did it. We're going to uninstall this guy. So the thing that I just uninstalled, we're going to remove. And I guess we're going to, I can't. I'm sorry if I'm throwing all you guys off. I'm throwing myself off. Let's just keep those. And we will clean up. Oh no. There we go. That was weird. That's it. This is the thing that works now. Bucket of mustard, bucket of ketchup. Oh, that's not going to be right. Oh God. I swear these images are going to give me nightmares sometimes. It was like a dog. That was weird. I think it does good at like landscape. Like, check this out. Landscape, beautiful. Abstract art. Also pretty, like, let's see, pointillism art. Gorgeous. So like when it's like generally sweeping things like of Mars, you can still combine it and it's gonna get a sense of what it needs to be. So this is fun. That's what I'll say. This is fun. Like it knows how to do some things pretty well. It doesn't do some other things very well. We could play around with the scheduler. I'm thinking like woman is going to give me a reasonable looking thing. Realistic child will give me, it's like painting, right? So I don't really like that. Photo. Yeah. So like these aren't the craziest of things. See, like that's kind of more realistic, but like the humanoid aspect is kind of haunting, right? So I think that this turbo model is meant to show that it can get to pretty realistic things in one step using this, they're calling it this distillation technology called ADD. Funny enough. Adversarial, I can't say that, adversarial diffusion distillation. So they have a paper on it, which I was skimming through the paper, but I'm not a strong, heavy math guy. So I have a little bit of trouble understanding the mathematics of it all. But you can see here that the turbo step, one step using the following, these are comparing other tools, like or other checkpoints. Prompt alignment. This was interesting to me, that the preference of people preferring the images using this style Gantt T++ with one step was not preferred. Like Turbo was preferred over it. So like it's winning when it competes against other tools. When it did a blind study, this looks like some sort of blind study. Oh, 4 steps. So when it did 4 steps, it was like not as preferred. So what's cool about this is if I decided I want to do 4 steps, we go to steps and we can say 4. And now, just like that, immediately, this will do 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. And then it'll like save the image. And I think this is where I'm getting to the point now where something is going wrong with the WebSocket logic. And I think that's, I think that's why it kind of times out there. So something to be desired for sure. So good question. We got some more questions coming into chat. I now stream every Wednesday night at 7 Central Time. Family emergencies pop up every now and then. I didn't do it last week because of Thanksgiving. So like there are exceptions to the rule, but that I'm here at that time. I've been pretty consistent over the past few months. Lots of good streams, but I keep doing the same time. Yeah. And then, so you know what's up, Wild. Like, you know about Stable Diffusion. Yeah, the LCM is a sampling method. So it's the way in which images are processed, like an equation, basically, to my knowledge of like how to go about interpreting the checkpoint and understanding how to create the correct image. And so LCM is a different technology that was made, and that came out like a couple of weeks ago, and they claimed that like you could get a really great looking thing in 4 steps. You're like, oh wow, instead of, as a baseline, like SDXL is like 50 steps to get a decent image. And it's a lot of processing power. Like, it takes a long time. And in my MacBook, it gets hot sometimes because it's just a lot of work. And so LCM, yeah, LCM is one of those things that came along and we're like, wow, we can do this in 4 steps. And then Stabiliti.ai came out and they're like, hey guys, we got something for you, a different equation, different math is involved, and it's going to be 1 step. And we can get you a pretty good looking thing in 1 step. Like, this is pretty cool in 1 step. We could say like flower painting. And the fact that in 1 step, this comes out looking this crisp is really impressive, to say the least. But we have a long way to go. This technology is definitely like still kind of new. And I feel like recently people like Midjourney and Dolly are doing some very impressive things when it comes to like making it into a product. And of course, like Photoshop and similar products have offered really cool solutions as well, like the magic fill that Photoshop offers. And so there's a lot of interesting, like, emerging technology coming out of all of this, and like cool products that people are building from it. And who knows, maybe I'll be one of those people. I don't know yet, but I want to definitely play around with some open source projects. So like you can see here, this is the company. This is one of the things that Stabiliti.ai is running. So there's a pricing model, and you pay a certain fee and you get these features. Very cool. There's an API. And so we could use their product directly. So like, let's just talk about like in painting. Cool, in painting. So they have their own input, image file, mask file. You give it those things, you provide an API key, the response type will come in a certain format, and you don't have to use your GPU. This is their servers running these things. And so they'll give you a resulting image, right? And they'll say bad mask, good mask, bad result, good result. Okay, cool. So they're giving lots of examples. They've productized this. Now, I can't guarantee this. This isn't a promise or anything, but I do know that the Stabiliti.ai team are the core contributors to ComfyUI. That's what I'll have to say about this. So ComfyUI is made by Comfy Anonymous, and Comfy Anonymous, to my knowledge, is Stabiliti.ai, or works for Stabiliti.ai, whoever this person is. I guess they're an anonymous person. So this anonymous account is built under Stabiliti.ai. So it literally tags them as like the owner. And so they have their own repos, which I haven't spent a lot of time with, but like Stable Diffusion is like the main thing, generative models. So this is like SDXL Turbo. So like that can be downloaded from here, I believe. There's some useful stuff in the actual repos. But anyway, my point is, Stabiliti.ai makes ComfyUI, or at least they're funding it and they're putting time and energy into making it a thing. And so all the work that we just did today, like, is not that far off of what they're doing on their products. Like, I hope that I was able to prove through this live stream today. We'll end in a few minutes, but from today's live stream, one of the things I hope that people got out of it is like clip drop. Let's go back to clip drop. I don't want their API. I have to go back. is we built what they built. That they said enter your prompt, and theirs is nice. Theirs is well designed. They have a pattern in the background. They have consistent UI. All of that can be achieved with a little bit of effort and time. But like this flashing thing and red flowers, it doesn't look that different from the thing I did, right? So what is happening? Like, are these things so different? I guess they came up slightly different, and that's probably a Cedar thing. But the whole idea of what this feature is and how it works and what it does is the same. It's literally using the same technology. Now, I like their watermark. That's a fantastic idea, and that's something I could do. And that'll come in handy in a future project I'm doing. I'm going to probably want to watermark my images. But I think it'd be fun to like give me 4 versions of red flowers, and it could iterate 4 times, or use a large language model and like help me generate something, use randomization or use language models to like, improve things. Like I could do this. I could say, oh, llama, describe this in depth, red flowers. It's going to be a little slow. It's got a cold boot, but this is using Mistral, I believe. And if we took something like that and we turned it into this, I don't think this is going to help. This is like overly creative, but it gives us something different, right? So the idea of spinning up your project by that one's similar to what we had, but just spinning things up, even just changing the words from flowers red to red flowers, it will give you a different result. It takes priority of what is shown first in the prompt. So whatever you put at the beginning of your prompt will always be more important than what's at the end of your prompt. At least that's the way that I've experienced using these tools. So something to think about. But here's my little thing that I spun together. I think next time we don't really need epic stack. We probably just needed, I think I could get away with all of this with Astro, knowing how it works. Then I can use Svelte or Vue or React or Preact or whatever tooling I want to use, as long as I have some server-side node processes that I can execute. But yeah, this was fun. Let's see, anyone else have? Yeah, Astro SSR would absolutely do it. And all the effort we went through the last couple hours of like building an app is for my own benefit. There's some things I want to do that I don't want users to have to download ComfyUI and do things with it. I want to use ComfyUI as a sort of content generation tool. And that's sort of my hope in the long run. And so we learned the API, and it wasn't so bad. Let's see, anyone have questions? Yeah, someone's mentioning, Wild, you're mentioning image to image, totally. And I think image to image will work with the API. I'm pretty sure you can just encode the image and give it to the payload. But again, that would just be something to play around with. Yeah, Focus. Yeah, and Focus is great for Windows machines from what I can tell. It seems really simple. It's not so different from this tool that we built together today, but it has like the extra options and you can configure it and change things. I like Automatic 1111, which I mentioned earlier. This is like the easier to use product. It looks like this. So text to image, image to image. There are extra features. There's ways to train. There are lots of settings. There are lots of extensions. you set your sampling method and your steps, and you set your width and height and how many batches you want to run, and the CFG scale, which I talked about earlier, and the seed, and all of these things you set and configure. And you choose your checkpoint up here, and then you run it, and it generates images. And there are lots of like upscaling options and detail options, and it's all very GUI-like. So you just kind of install a plugin, maybe watch a YouTube video on how it works, and then like you're off to the races. With ComfyUI, you have to know what these nodes are and how they work and how to connect the dots. And if you connect the dots in the wrong way, it won't work. So you have to be able to deal with that. Thankfully, I don't know how focus works. Wild, you could let us know how focus works. But thankfully, if you drag an image, let's just like clear the workspace. So now the workspace is empty. This is like a canvas, right? I don't know if you guys can see, there's like a little blue line, but there's this huge kind of infinitely scalable canvas. You can drop an image in, and the images themselves get embedded with the ComfyUI data. So it knows how to recreate itself, which is really great. Which gets a little bit crazier with like, here's an example of a little ghost that I made. And in this case, there was a lot more things going on. Not a lot more things, a few more things. Let's look at the more complicated thing. So like this one. There are different kinds of efficient loaders. So this is a custom node. So people have created custom nodes. I could create a custom node if I wanted. Something interesting to look into for sure. And then you have to, this is a high quality machine. So this is a way of taking in data, encoding it using an upscaler, and then running it through an upscaler's tool, and then running it through the checkpoint. And then this one is a face detailer, so it can like find the face in the image and make it better. And so there's all these really complicated and really cool things that you can do with it, which is what I like to do. It's really fun. But once I have a workflow that I really like, there's this idea in my head where I'm like, I just want the main pieces of it that I want to run or to change dynamically. And I want like really, really simple UI that works specifically for that workflow. So that's the idea that I have for tonight. And that's what I want to do moving forward, is that I want to just like build UIs for workflows. And there are whole companies now that have been started in order to build these kinds of products. And I think I'm going to enter a contest that just came out from one of them. I can shout them out. Why not? Let's shout them out. What is the name of the contest? And then I will call it a night here in the next few minutes. It's called, let's just move this guy. Open art. So what kind of stirred this on today was these guys are doing a contest, and they got like, I don't know, they got like 13 grand worth of prizes, which is pretty cool. And they really want people to get creative with workflows themselves. And they want people to come up with workflows that can be interesting, fun, good for marketing, you know, animation. We didn't talk about animation today, but that's a whole thing people do. They want some innovation in this area, basically. And so for the next couple of weeks, I have the chance to noodle some ideas and play around with it and see what I can come up with. And we'll see if I end up competing. But Scott and Olivia are two, and even Mateo now, these two, especially at the top, are the big YouTubers that I follow. You guys were asking about it, but Olivia and Scott, they both are really cutting edge. So like whenever something comes out, like they make a video on it. So if you follow them, you're going to be pretty up to date with what's going on in this space. And so you can see he's got over 200,000 now. So he's doing really well. His Discord is kind of fun too. I'm in there sometimes. They both have a Discord. But yeah, this is super fun. I'm excited to see where this goes. And I hope that you guys are as excited about me about the Stable Diffusion stuff. I don't think I'll be covering Stable Diffusion every live stream, but I am going to try to make a video or two about this topic and see how it responds on the YouTube world. Because at the end of the day, I'm a coder for sure. I'm a coder, and so I like to code things. Stable Diffusion's fun, but at the end of the day, like making something out of nothing is always really satisfying. And so, yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for coming on. We'll be here again next Wednesday, hopefully. And hope you guys have a good night. Bye.